Mic check, 1, 2. 1, 2.
Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Thank you very much for honoring the invite, coming to this occasion, the Thought Leadership Seminar here in our province, the Limpopo province. So we're about to get underway, we're about to start. Should I also check if we know of people that may still be outside that we need to invite inside and give them a moment to come in? Or we are all here? We are ready to get underway. My name is Ngamula T.C. Jauke. I am the chair of the seminar today. But if the voice sounds familiar, it's because I host Capricorn Talk on Capricorn FM. So that would be the familiarity. You see, I'm nicer in person. All right, so we get under. I'm not in the radio today, so I am with you. We are together. We're doing the same thing. We're having the same conversations and the same thought leadership seminar. I'm going to ask Moruti Selepe to open by prayer.
I thought you were going to sing, but otherwise, all is well. Tobe. Tobela? Legai. Why did you say so? Modi more boka wena. Modi re boka. Modi more boka wena. Reboka tsohle di etswe ke we modimo reboka wena mo re a leboga gagolo PO for leading us. Next time, a worship leader is strong. May I ask you to close your eyes? We are going to pray. Mudimarina Mashau, Kabakala Muraha Jesu Christe, or a ratile, or a trompile, or a trocomeji, or a filabo pelo. Recopanimol Hunu, Kabakala Muhawao. Reahopela and Naneole Satoma. The hopolo cheta dramo, ebejedi chapileng, chaur mata facha, logore provoke, horger satro jwa, koyamal, shakurgarna fapa fapana, mos chabing, rebeba tubawena, ugartsepa, tusha, dibule charena, urfe bushale, zebol chabum, the honishi. Go tlisha melaetša go ya ka moena o beileng dipelong tša bona ga go le motshwara marapo e ba le yena letšatšing le mošomong wa gage wa go tsamaisa lenaneo le bogona ba gagwe bo dula godimo ga gage re kgopela tše ka baka la morwa ga Jesu Kriste ya ileng a kwa a tsoga o re moletetšeng gore o tla tla gape jwalo le ka o sa feleng. Amen. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Moruti. We appreciate that. And so we get underway. We may be comfortable as we participate today here in the Thought Leadership Seminar. And of course, there are different people that have been invited representing different sectors that are important, that are key stakeholders and role players in our democracy. And all of us are invited to participate, to give inputs, and be contributory to make sure at the end of the day, whatever we come out with, we have participated, we have built, we can own it, it is ours. As we know that our democracy in the country is based on the universal suffrage, it's based on popular sovereignty, and the IEC delivers free and fair elections regularly. And despite that, we are aware that as the country's democracy matures, the credibility of the IEC in contributing to that maturity, there is, though, unfortunately, a disconnect and a decline in voter participation. Now, the voter participation decline and what perhaps you'll term voter disengagement is rooted in a number of issues. There are a number of issues that contribute to those, and we're going to be discussing some of those, but some of those are also best known by yourselves. So there are socio-political and historical background to the disengagement, issues of inequality, issues of unemployment, issues of service delivery, and perceived unresponsiveness by leadership. And that is also key. It is simple to assume that leadership ticks the boxes, does its jobs, and move on. But how the public views the leadership is also important in how the public engages or disengages, as it were, with that leadership. Now, it has come, there was a time where we had long queues of people that were going to vote, where people were excited about voting, where you knew it was going to be the whole day of going to a voting station and queue. It is not the same anymore. And we can all agree that you are able to go to a voting station, and this was my experience. I thought, well, there's going to be queue. I went in the Western Back area, in RBA, the area they call RBA. I just got in, voted, and left. And it was midday. That could mean a lot of things, but one of the things is that there were fewer people at that time. Perhaps people came later, and in the last elections, we know, at least in universities, there were talks of people that are still queuing. But there was mobilization that was happening for people to be queuing. Who was doing the mobilization? Perhaps it's another area of our conversation that we will touch on. How important is that kind of mobilization as well? But for some, voting has come to be perceived as symbolic, has come not to be seen as transformative as it should be, because it is through the vote that you are able to influence whatever the issues that you may have, whatever the service delivery issues that you may have in society, influence what voice speaks in the legislature or in the municipal council, whether it's the provincial legislature, whether it is the National Assembly. That is the vote that gives you that, and you can always influence that, and by that bring about transformation. And so we should be able to look at that as well, that voting, which is participating in democracy, must have that influence that it changes people's lives beyond simply going to put an X next to a name, a party, or a figure. Now, what are the roots of course, the voter disengagement? Whether it is simply apathy, do people simply do not care or know the importance of voting, or is there more to it? Are there issues of historical mistrust? Are there issues of disappointment with expectations that have not been met? Are there other issues that are there? So as we go on today, these are some of the questions that we want to answer. And the youth are very key. We are largely a youthful population, youthful society, and this is why it's important that the youth are engaged and everyone else is engaged. So we emphasizing on the youth, of course, does not leave everyone out, but that is a large part of the population that is also disengaged. So today, we are looking at making electoral participation relevant, relatable, and exciting again. How do we do that? This is the journey you and I are embarking on as part of this leadership, thought leadership seminar. Let's go together. Let's find ways to make it relevant, relatable, and exciting again. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the Provincial Electoral Officer, Menka Romatita, as she opens and welcomes us to this event. A round of applause for her as she approaches.
Well, thank you very much, Program Director, for this opportunity. 1, 2. I thought I was given a protocol list, but it does not look like it's a protocol list. I'm sure the Program Director will advise us on the protocol that is established in the House. That is something else. Thank you. Colleagues, we are gathered here and we have invited the Provincial Political Liaison Committee members who would like to welcome you, the youth representatives from political parties, our program director as well as the moderator of the session, Mr. Chauke, the panelists, Professor M. Selepe of the University of Limpopo, Professor T. Mashau of University of Venda, and Mr. M. Mashia, Democracy Works Foundation. Then we have academia and research leaders from various institutions of higher learning in the province, students from various institutions of higher learning, representation from Democracy Works Foundation, reps from Chapter 9 and 10 institutions. These are our sister organizations, who are one of them. Reps from government departments, from SALGA, from SAPS, representative of faith-based organization and civil society organization, reps from the media, reps from other key stakeholders and other sectors, reps from Mpumalanga, our colleagues from Mpumalanga, represented by the manager, as well as the outreach officer in the province, Limpopo IEC provincial managers, representative from our province, as well as district officials. It is my honor to welcome you to this important seminar in the history of our institution. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and fellow advocates for democratic innovation, it is a profound honor to welcome you to this thought leadership seminar. We gather here at a critical juncture in our civic history, a moment that demands not just our attention, but our radical imagination. Our theme for this gathering is making electoral participation relevant, relatable, and exciting again. And this theme is more than a title, it is a mandate for reform. What is the challenge of our era? We must be candid about the current landscape across the globe. We are witnessing a widening chasm between the mechanisms of governance and the lived experiences of the governed. For too long, the act of voting has been framed as a chore or a dry civic duty. In many cycles, the machinery of elections has started to feel like an ancient operating system, slow, glitchy, and disconnected from the high speed, high stakes reality of our daily lives. When the connection between a vote and a tangible outcome becomes blurred, apathy is the inevitable result. When participation feels like a burden, democracy loses its luster. Our task today is to dissect the why behind this disconnect, and more importantly, to architect the how of its resolution. Redefining the civic experience to revitalize our democracy, we must approach electoral participation through three distinct lenses. The first one, the relevance, which is part of our theme. How do we bridge the gap between a mark on a ballot and the price of groceries, the quality of school, or the digital rise of the next generation? We must demonstrate that the electoral process is the primary engine for solving modern crises. From economic stability to climate resilience, we must make the stakes undeniable. Relatability. We must dismantle the barriers of complex bureaucracy and exclusionary language. Democracy must speak the language of the people, utilizing the platforms and social textures of the 21st century. Excitement. How do we reclaim the energy of collective action? We want to move from a culture of, I have to vote, to, I can't wait to have my say. We must restore the sense of agency and collective pride that defines a healthy body politic. Voting should be viewed not as a defensive necessity, but as an aspirational act of creation. A call to intellectual rigor. The individuals in this room represented the vanguard of political science, public administration, research, technological innovation, and community leadership. I urge you to move beyond the safety of traditional rhetoric. The health of a democracy is measured not by the absence of conflict, but by the presence of active, informed, and enthusiastic participation. Democracy should feel like the most important conversation you have ever been invited to join. The future of our electoral health depends on the ideas generated in this room today. We are here to ask the what ifs. What if local elections felt as vital and a viral social movement? What if the voting process was as intuitive as our favorite apps? What if every citizen felt that their individual voice was the ultimate premium future of our society? Today, let us challenge the status quo. Let us explore how data, design thinking, and grassroots empathy can converge to build an electoral framework that is as dynamic as the people itself. I look forward to the insights and strategies that will undoubtedly emerge from our sessions today. Thank you for your commitment to this vital work. Thank you for being here. Let's make democracy the most exciting thing on the agenda. Relatable, asante sana. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause. Thank you. So the Vanguard is sitting in this room, and these are the people that have a say, have something to contribute to our democracy and the electoral health of our democracy, as she said. Let me also acknowledge others that are sitting in this room. We have the Provincial Political Liaison Committee members that are sitting in this room. You're welcome. A round of applause to them. Okay, the list is 17 people, so we're going to be clapping a lot. We'll clap in the end. Okay, so we also have the youth representatives from political parties. If you're here, just by show of hands, to the comfort that you're represented. Thank you. I see them represented. We have academic and research leaders from various institutions of higher learning in the province. Are those that are representing that space? If you're here, just by show of hands. Okay, we are going to be having some, but of course, actually some of our panelists come from institutions of learning. I just skip them, we'll go to them because they are panelists. We're going to see them here. We have students from various institutions of higher learning. If you're there, just an acknowledgement of raise of hands. Okay, there they are. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. You appreciate your presence. Representatives from Democracy Works Foundation. There they are. Thank you very much. And we also have representatives from Chapter 9 and 10 institutions. Thank you very much. We have representatives from government departments. There is a raise of hand there. Thank you. And we've got representatives from SALGA. Right, we expect to have them. We've got representatives from SAPS. We have representatives from faith-based organizations and civil society organizations. There is an acknowledgement, thank you. Representatives from the media. There is an acknowledgement, thank you. Representatives from other key stakeholders and other sectors that may be here that I've not mentioned yet. Okay, this is an interesting one because you're wondering if I'm mentioning you next as well. We've got representatives from Mpumalanga IEC. There's an acknowledgement, thank you very much. We've got, of course, the Limpopo IEC provincial manager was with us here. We will see him. He'll come to the front as well. We've got representatives from Limpopo provincial and district offices of the IEC. Thank you very much. There is the acknowledgements there. So if you are here and I did not mention you there, you are also welcome, and thank you for coming. Please feel free and comfortable to participate as we continue with our thought leadership seminar. We were hearing from the provincial electoral officer. Let's go deeper and speak about the purpose of the seminar. And for that, in talking about the purpose of the seminar, so we're going to have engagements and get a sense of answers of the questions that she raised. So as she was speaking there, she was raising a number of issues that are important for us to answer and to address, and that is why we are here. But for the purpose of the seminar, ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome the provincial manager of the IEC, Mr. Aisia Neho. A hand of applause as he approaches.
Our program director, thank you very much for this opportunity. I wish to pass some warm greetings from the Electoral Commission. Esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, it truly affords me a great deal of pleasure on this occasion when, as the Electoral Commission, together with our stakeholders, we are called upon to interrogate the issues that have been hinted on. In particular, for me to help unpack and articulate the main purpose of this seminar, the rationale behind it, and most importantly, what we hope to achieve with this seminar. In doing so, I wish to point out that South Africa's constitutional democracy stands at a pivotal moment as we are seated here today. While the country maintains a credible, mature, and well-administered electoral system, recent trends reveal troubling and the erosion of voter participation, particularly among the youth. Moreover, the declining turnout, that is voter turnout, growing public disengagement, and the widening disconnect between citizens and the electoral processes signal a deeper crisis. Not a rejection of democracy as such, but a loss of meaning, a loss of trust, and perceived relevance of traditional forms of political participation. And when such observations are made, we have an obligation as a nation to pause, and we must have some conversations. Whether those conversations are pleasant or uncomfortable conversations, but we are called upon to have some conversations as a nation when we make such observations. Now, this seminar, titled From Disengagement to Participation, Reimagining Electoral Participation in an Era of Voter Disengagement, seeks to confront these challenges by creating a dynamic, multi-party platform for reflection, innovation, and renewal. The main aim is to rethink how participation can be made relevant, relatable, exciting again, particularly for the youth and first-time voters. South Africa's pattern of disengagement cannot be explained by apathy alone. There are some complexities of socio-economic and historical nature, such factors as persistent inequality, unemployment, service delivery frustrations, the perceptions of unresponsiveness from political leadership, those have created a climate of disillusionment. And for many, especially the post-94 youth, voting no longer feels like an instrument of agency or tangible change. At the same time, young people remain politically expressive in alternative spaces, social movements, digital platforms, and issue-based activism. This shift demands reimagination of democratic participation that aligns with contemporary modes of engagement, political culture, and experiential learning. It simply spells out to us that it can no longer be business as usual when such observations are made. The seminar seeks to explore these issues through critical dialogue and cross-sector engagement, and it is our sincere aspiration that our esteemed panel members and yourselves as participants in this seminar will interrogate the structural causes of this disengagement, also examining the changing political behaviors in a digital era and evaluate the evolution of civic and voter education. Most importantly, this seminar, in essence, is affording us a unique opportunity for innovation. Unique opportunity to reconceptualize interactive civic technologies, edutainment approaches like democracy on stage, and authentic, responsive communication strategies that resonate with young citizens of this country. And in specifically unpacking the objectives of this seminar, there are 8 key pillars that I need to highlight as objectives. Number 1, to analyze the drivers of declining voter participation in the country with attention to structural, socio-economic, and historical factors shaping this disengagement. Further, we need to deepen our understanding of how different social groups, particularly the youth, experience and interpret electoral participation, and how these lived experiences influence voter turnout and trust in a democratic process. And number 3, explore the evolving nature of political engagement in the digital era, including political youth culture, digital culture, alternative forms of activism, and emerging modes of democratic expression outside of traditional electoral structures. Number 4, identifying innovative opportunities and technologies such as digital platforms, participatory tools, and edutainment models to revitalize electoral engagement. Number 5, reflect on the evolution and future of civic and democracy education. In other words, assessing how it can shift from procedural model to a meaningful, experiential, and empowering approach for the youth. Number 6, examine the role of public trust, institutional legitimacy, and strategic communication in shaping citizens' willingness to participate in elections. Number 7, to provide a collaborative platform for dialogue and knowledge exchange among electoral institutions, youth formations, political parties, civil societies, academia, our Chapter 9 institutions, Chapter 10 institutions, and other key stakeholders. And lastly, as an objective, to reposition the electoral participation as a continuous, year-round democratic process rather than a once-off act tied with just the election day. And with this seminar, ladies and gentlemen, what do we hope to achieve? The expected outcomes, as we had envisaged, first, we are hoping for a shared, evidence-based understanding of the root causes of voter disengagement, so that we are in a space where we can acknowledge its socioeconomic, historical, and institutional dimensions. Greater awareness of the differentiated experiences of democracy among citizens, with particular insights into contrast between older generations and the post-1994 generations. Most importantly, as we are seated here, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we are hoping that at the end of the session, we will have practical, innovative ideas and strategies for making electoral participation more relevant, relatable, and engaging, especially for the youth and first-time voters. Also, we are hoping to enhance conceptual clarity on integrating digital culture, edutainment, participatory civic technologies into voter engagement and communication strategies. And also to have strengthened recognition of civic and democracy education as an ongoing interactive process rather than a once-off intervention during election periods. improved dialogue, trust building, and mutual understanding between electoral bodies and key democratic stakeholders. Strategic insights to inform future electoral communication campaigns, voter engagement initiatives, and civic education programs. We are hoping that such programs in the Electoral Commission will be enriched through this process and this seminar in particular and its outcome. Also, a forward-looking perspective that will position election within broader democratic ecosystem, reinforcing the importance of participation beyond voting day. And the final expected outcome is a contribution towards strengthening South Africa's constitutional democracy through renewed emphasis on meaningful and inclusive, empowering electoral participation. So by the end of this seminar, ladies and gentlemen, all of you as delegates are expected to have co-developed practical insights, forward-looking strategies, and shared understanding of voter disengagement rooted in South Africa's social realities. These outcomes will directly inform future electoral communication, civic education efforts, and engagement programs to affirm elections as part of a broader democratic ecosystem rather than a once-off system. And as I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, ultimately, this seminar recognizes that the strength of South Africa's democracy depends not only on the integrity of its electoral processes, as we have been developing over the years, but more specifically on the extent to which citizens, especially the youth, experience participation as meaningful, as empowering, and connected to their everyday lives. And so reinvigorating electoral participation is therefore not just a technical task, it is a democratic imperative. And I thank you most sincerely for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Another round of applause there. Okay, so we know the purpose of the seminar. We had the opening address as well that gave us insights into, or even background, looking at even the mandate of the IEC. And so as we got there, the purpose of the seminar, the contribution that we are also privileged to make. So eventually what we come out with will be something that we've all contributed to. There's always a conversation about voter education and whether enough of that is being done, whether enough of that reaches people, reaches them at a level where they are able to react to it. And that would be relatability. At a level where they are able to engage it and be moved from a position of saying, oh, there is voter registration weekend that has been declared at some point in June, to when is that coming? How do we participate? How do I become part of it? How do I check whether I'm registered? And what are the changes around where I'm voting, if any? And so these are, as we participate, we all carry that with us. We all have that responsibility. We are all able to answer that question. Whether in our spaces, in higher education, whether in the media, whether in the IEC when someone walks into the office in the different districts, whether as civil society, whatever organization sphere that we are operating from. However, ladies and gentlemen, today So the topic is from disengagement to participation, reimagining electoral participation in an era of voter disengagement. We have 3 panelists that are going to open up the conversation for us, that are going to start and give insights, and then we are all going to participate. We are all going to ask questions, share our sentiments, and at the end, come up with one compact way forward. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome as one of the panelists, Professor M. Selepe from the University of Limpopo. Please come join us at the front, a hand of welcome. Okay, don't be confused by the fact that there are 2 people moving at the same time. Okay, so as Professor Selepe is preparing himself to come up, one of the 2 people moving is Professor Selepe. Please take a seat there, Prof. Okay. Oh, okay, yes, he wants to connect and make his presentation. Okay, so I'm going to introduce them. They'll sit and then they'll stand and make their presentations. And then we'll have an engagement. So we've got by my reading of the program, we've got 45 minutes where we'll have the panelists share their views, we'll engage, and then we'll have some 30 minutes where us as the participants will engage with them, ask questions, and they answer. So that is the time. So if you see me managing time, it is not because it's in my nature to manage time, because I generally have 2 hours to talk about a lot of things. So it's not that, it's because we also want to engage you and also release you to your other commitments. Let's also welcome Mr. Mashia, who is from Democracy Works Foundation. A hand of welcome as he approaches. Thank you, thank you. Okay, that is Mr. Mashia there. Let us also welcome Professor T. Mashau from the University of Venda. A hand of welcome as we welcome Professor Mashau. Thank you, Prof, as well for honoring the invite. So these are our panelists who have honored the invite, a wealth of knowledge in between them that we are going to be privy to, and we are going to engage them and engage with them, and also share our views and what our sentiments may be. Right. So we will start. We'll give you an opportunity to make a 10-minute presentation. I know that 10 minutes, when you have so much, can be very little, but I know you are prepared to take it in that time. So we're going to first start with Professor M. Selepe. He'll make his presentation in that 10 minutes, and then we'll have Mr. Mashia make his presentation. We'll have Professor Mashau make his presentation, and we'll go back there and engage, and then we'll also give you an opportunity to engage. Prof. Selepe, thank you. Thank you, a round of applause. Thank you, a round of applause.
Good morning. First and foremost, I just want to express my profound appreciation to the IEC in the Limpopo province. Due to time constraints, I'll try and stick to the allocated time. So my name is Martin Selepe. I'm the boy from Bulubedu, the Mujaji district, but I'm one of the academic staff members at the University of Limpopo in the Department of Public Administration. So without any waste of time, the layout of my presentation entails the following. I'm gonna briefly talk about the purpose of voting in South Africa because it's key. And then I'll therefore briefly elaborate on factors contributing toward voter apathy in South Africa. Some they call it civic apathy. And then I'll be more aligned and adhere to the recommended theme by the IEC, making electoral participation relevant, relatable, and exciting again. So here, my first statement here, it's derived from the Electoral Commission Act number 51 of 1996, which states that this is actually one of the functions of the IEC, which states that the IEC must undertake and promote research into electoral matter. And I think this thought leadership seminar forms part of their function, because their functions are all legislated and they are all inherent or embedded in this piece of legislation. So in terms of subsection I, IEC is entrusted with the responsibility to develop and promote the development of electoral expertise and technology in all spheres of government, meaning national, provincial, and local government. And the Bill of Rights in South Africa's pioneering constitution, which is the supreme law of the country, grants all citizens aged between 18 and older the right to vote. So voting allows you to be part of the decision making that affect your life and the future of our country. If you don't vote, others will make the decisions for you. So history shows that democracies in danger, democracies which are threatened of losing their freedom, register frighteningly low voter turnout. So democracies which are, uncertain about the future of their freedom, they encourage their citizenry to really participate. So in thriving democracies, people vote in large numbers and the people's voice remains supreme. So that's what we are envisaging to see in our country, South Africa. Now, let me quickly touch base on factors contributing to the voter apathy in South Africa. Due to time constraints, I'm not gonna go in detail. So, number one, public trust in public institutions has declined significantly in recent years. So the mounting trust deficit has affected many state institutions, but has especially affected the African National Congress. So the African National Congress experienced a significant decline in trust and electoral support, dropping from 57.5% in 2019 to 40% in the 2024 elections, losing its parliamentary majority for the first time. So public trust is eroded by persistent corruption, poor governance, and a perceived loss of moral authority, with only 16% of the public trusting the government in certain polls, not all polls, but just a selected few. So revelations of the alleged involvement of the ANC official in state capture and corruption have undoubtedly had a profound impact on voter sentiments, deterring many traditional ANC supporters from voting for the party in recent elections. So youth voter apathy results from disillusionment with the political system. So you will hear, we'll be talking a lot more about youth, because to us, youth, they are very key because of their level of agility. They are very agile and they are our future leaders. So now, youth voter apathy results from disillusionment with the political system, barriers to participate, such as difficulty in registering to vote, lack of accessible polling stations, or the inconvenience of voting on a working day and a high unemployment rate. You see, these are some of the things. Again, here I've just given you a detailed exposition of some of the factors in the previous slide. It's corruption, unemployment, poverty, low level of trust towards government, which is public trust, of course, ignorance, and this is as a result of inadequate voter education. And I'm not blaming this to the IEC. They may have serious constraints of which they may not ventilate or share with us. Issues such as staffing, you find that the staff complement in the Limpopo provincial office is not adequate enough to enable them to go around and execute this voter education. Bad governance. Citizens will automatically lose faith in the government if it fails to meet their needs. Now, let's get to the gist of today's business. Making electoral participation relevant, relatable, and exciting again. Making electoral participation relevant, relatable, and exciting requires a shift from traditional bureaucratic and top-down communication to more interactive, digital-first, and youth-centric strategies. It's very important to make sure that youth are participative. So to combat apathy and foster a vibrant democracy, especially in South Africa's 2024-2026 electoral landscape, efforts must focus on digital engagement, education, and connecting daily issues to the ballot box. Yes, this is all about e-voting. But what about our grannies? What about people residing in rural settings? We need to craft or formulate the strategy that will make them inclusive, because the emphasis now is on digitization or e-voting. So we really need to get people in the rural settings involved. And the key point there, or the point of contact, is involving our traditional leadership institutions. As you know, our legislative framework for our traditional leaders, they are only recognized in terms of Section 211 and 212 of our Constitution, but their roles are not clearly defined. Now, therefore, is the opportunity, the opportune moment for the IEC to engage, to forge synergies with our traditional leaders. They may be underestimated because their role is only mentioned in the Municipal Structures Act, Section 81 of 1998 as amended, that a certain percentage can only participate in the municipal proceedings, but they've got no say. But now, if we get them involved and they call their imbizos, really, that will be the opportune moment for the IEC to go and do a proper and detailed But the question is how to, because many times we do have the budget, and sometimes we do have adequate personnel, but the challenge will be the implementation side of things. The strategies will be there, nice, but when it comes to implementation, you find that our IEC's representatives, they are having some serious challenges. That's where we come in terms of giving them support. Enhanced interactivity, introducing tools like podcast, WhatsApp channels, and interactive websites. And I think the IEC, they've begun with this. I think the process began in 2025, and I think they are ready to roll it out for the upcoming 2026 local government elections, making it relevant, connecting daily life to the ballot, bridge the gap, focus campaigns on issues that directly impact daily life. Example, climate change. One of the classic examples in our province. You saw what happened, and even in Mpumalanga. January, February, we had floods there. So now, bridging the gap issue is aligned to issues such as climate change, economic inequality, student debt. We are at the university, our students are owing a lot of money, and job creation, which should be the key. And I think it's about time that government and our political office bearers, they start looking at robust policies that will create jobs for our youth. Youth-centric narratives frame voting as a way for young people to shape their own futures rather than just a civic duty. Educational integration, integrate voter education into schools and university curricula and social work programs. This works, and we are waiting to liaise with the IEC. We can organize that you come at any time and to give our students voter education, making it relatable, digital, and localized engagement. Again, it's a leverage social media and pop culture, peer-to-peer influence, accessible information, candidate authenticity, and then making it exciting, innovative, and active participation. Gamification, I don't know how far is the IEC, but simple things like creating online games with a specific reference to the issue of elections. It enables engagement. Interactive polling, use online interactive tools to help voters navigate complex ballots and understand their choices. Youth-led outreach, empower young people to lead voter registration and education drives. Convenience as experience, set up voting centers in high traffic, unconventional areas like university, basketballs, arenas, or soccer field. That's just a suggestion that can enhance our electoral processes. Lastly, this is my last slide. Systematic change for lasting engagement. Number one, independent candidate. I don't know, because for one to be listed, must adhere to the legislative framework. Safety and security. Creating a secure, non-intimidating environment is crucial for encouraging participation, particularly in high-tension areas. In the past, we have had a lot of stories in the KZN province. Secure environment, addressing fears of political violence or intimidation to encourage free participation. Inclusive politics, ensuring that candidate lists include a higher percentage of youth, of young people, making representation feel authentic. Continuous engagement. You have seen over the years since 1994, our IEC, they are more visible and more active just shortly prior the elections. Here, my submission is that move beyond once-off pre-election campaigns and focus on continuous voter education throughout the entire cycle. I thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. A round of applause again for Professor Selepe. Okay, so as we continue, of course, we are aware of the time, and our experts will be keeping the time as they make their presentation. Let us welcome Mr. Mashia. He's from Democracy Works Foundation. A round of applause for him.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm one of those that if I don't get a warm welcome, then I don't continue. And just as a disclaimer, Prof has taken all my slides. But I will try and cover the gaps, as you can imagine. As the Program Director opened the session, as the POE spoke, as well as the Program Manager, a picture that is emerging is it would seem we really have a handle of what the problem is. And therefore, the focus should really be how do we then deal with this problem. For the tendency sometimes is to dwell more on what the problem is and not what the solution is. I do not have a PowerPoint presentation, but I will talk through the notes that I have here. For those that might be interested to know, it was Sheo Zone 1. It's good to be back home. Not far from Julius Malema, corner store. So I've outlined my notes, and it would sound like I'm starting with the end, because I really feel like that's where we should start from. So I've turned my presentation upside down, and I'm starting from the end. I think all of us would agree that South Africa's democracy is not facing a crisis of elections. I think we should give credit to our rule of law, resilient democracy, and IEC, and all the other stakeholders that play a very important role in making sure that our democracy is sustained and resilient. I mean, I need not say more because you know exactly what is happening in other countries. So I think we should not lose sight of that fact. And because the future democratic legitimacy will depend on whether we address the very theme of this seminar. Often some people say, think out of the box. I want to say, throw away the box. There are things that have worked in the past. There's been reference to civic education. But I think we need to think deeper as to what does it look like now, so that we can then start thinking about how do we transform young citizens from just observers, but into active democratic participants. There's been a point made around the youth bulge of our citizenry in South Africa. But I can tell you, young people will tell you, the maths is not mathing. Or the mathematics is not mathing. So you have a huge youth bulge, but it is not translating when it is most important. Now, how do we get around that? Whatever the future looks like as we sit here now and as we live tomorrow, we need to start thinking about how we co-create that very future with the very young people. Because if we are going to co-create this future for them and they are not part of that process, then we will come back here and say the same thing over and over again and hope for different results. As I said, I'm starting from the end. So we need to make sure that the maths is mathing. So there's been obviously contextual issues around where we are at. I think Prof has alluded to some of those. But as we can imagine, our challenge now is not so much simply to consolidate our democracy, but to make sure that it is a democratic participation and legitimacy. Because as we are hearing the Prof says, what are some of the structural issues? Poverty, corruption. And now the worst thing about those things is that they are at the face of young people now. So now when you say corruption, all you need to do is switch on the television and listen to Matlanga Commission, the ad hoc committee and all of that. So it's no longer hearsay. young people are confronted with this. And you know what they ask? So what is really the point of us voting? What is really the point? So because we are going to come back to this. So this declining turnout raises serious questions, obviously, as to whether electoral outcomes reflect the will of society or the will of a shrinking older voting participation. So there's a huge risk for democracy if this particular perception is true, but it certainly does make young people disengage. And if we are saying that youth are decisive and yet they are disengaged, then it means we've got a much more serious problem than we can actually even think as we sit here. And as I've already pointed out, I think the paradox for us, for our democracy, is that the largest demographic group, the youth, is also the least politically engaged in elections. So the maths is not mathing. I think Prof has talked about the structural issues. I just want to add one more, that besides unemployment, besides corruption, there's also young people who are not in education, who are not in training, who are not employed. And they are huge. So I'm trying to also think about how do we then engage with these very young people. So that whole co-creation that has to be part of them. We also need to start thinking, I've heard the word innovation. Before it loses meaning, we've got to think about what language do we craft for which section of this youth as well, so that it is relevant and it is impactful, and we avoid a one-size-fits-all type of an approach. So those that are not employed in education or training, you can imagine the implications, of course, are that if young people are economically marginalized, that translates into political alienation, obviously. So we need to think about that. Let me, emphasize, I think, the point around young people having formed different tribes in the digital streets or the digital world. So I think if you flip the coin, it is that very digital village that also contains a lot of misinformation, disinformation, etc. So our engagement with that and communication strategies around that are going to have to take those into account. So it is definitely going to be, it is going to have to be something that is responsive. I mean, there's no doubt that in South Africa there's a representation gap. I think leaders who are under 35 out of 1,000 are under 100. Now already that is telling you something. So at the local government level representation, only 50% of representatives there are under 35. Now that tells you you've got to go back. I don't know how many people know that 1976 is 50 years this year. So those that participated in that sort of youth movement then are into their 60s or 65. This is coming at the right time after the 2024 elections. Evidence-based data now has told us that there's been a huge gap in terms of youth participation in those elections. And therefore, we've got to start thinking, now that the dates are out for the local government elections, how do we plug in our work in making sure that youth are engaged with the data that's come out of 2024 with what is about to happen right now? And the work really starts now. For the political parties that are here, you've got a lot of work to do yourselves. The days of just sloganeering are over. When you craft your manifestos, they've got to speak to these issues that we are saying are structural issues, and not just a mere, I don't even know how you guys do it. I'm a former political exile myself. I used to know I don't know what you sing now. Maybe you just sing about your leaders. I don't know. But the days of singing about your leaders surely should be over by now. We have a matured democracy. There's a democratic risk, and that is, and I want to emphasize that, populism. So with young people who are restless, if you don't do some of these things that we are talking about and that we would come out of this with, we run the risk of, populism. Young people, I don't know if you know, in their spaces are talking about, and I'll say open quote, close quote, benevolent dictators. I'm sure you've seen it somewhere in Africa, manifesting itself. And because they are restless, yes, they will elect Mashia Pata today, but within 3 months they will be saying Mashia Pata must go. Then it means there's something that we are not doing right. So you run the risk of populist things, and of course that's a huge democratic risk, and we cannot afford that as a country, given the sort of investment we have made and the blessing that it has been able to give to us, along with the rule of law and governance. Of course, Prof has spoken about, and all the other speakers, trust deficit. In any relationship, if I don't trust you, there's nothing that is going to work. And that's a huge democratic risk. So if we cannot bring back that, then there will be no legitimacy. And whether we like it or not, I've given an example, 76 and youth, we have moved. Some people have become older and very older. And no disrespect to the elderly, but they are older. So are their ideas. And we've got to accept that. Now, just reimagining this as I close program director with my 8.5 minutes. I think rebuilding youth participation requires rethinking both the electoral system, and I think we are making headway into that. All of these ideas that are coming and all of that, I think thinking really, and Prof talked about independent candidates, and I think that's a great platform and an opportunity for young people to participate in politics. And for obvious reasons, those that are disillusioned with your political parties genuinely are like that. And of course, I've already spoken to political parties. Your political engagement strategies, really, you've got to start throwing away the box. I saw a clip that is doing rounds on social media of a campaign door-to-door with a political party carrying loaves of bread and saying that this is a loaf of bread for you, and this loaf of bread is life for you. Now, talk about being tone deaf. And we've seen lots of incidents of our leaders being tone deaf to issues that are real. Now those people, a loaf of bread is life for them. And then there's a joke now. You take an egg to the community you are campaigning, an egg is good for you. 1 egg, 1 vote. Now, participation must also be beyond voting every 5 years. Prof has spoken about that, but be a continuous process. I was pleasantly surprised to see that this now. I think we come a long way, over 25 years. And at the time, IEC was very strong on civic education with materials and all of that. So there's got to be a combination of going back to what's worked then and making it work now with what we have right now. My colleague had reminded me, I think when she started voting, that if you don't vote, you can't complain. Let's think about something that really just makes young people think. But as for many of the young people, they're saying, what is really the point? So as we ponder, we've got to think about, so what? Whatever we do, whatever future looks like, so what? And then I think it will make a lot of sense to young people. I thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. A round of applause again. And as the speakers are speaking, I'm sure you are noting your questions that you want to put to them. I'll tell you something about questions when we go to questions, something that stays with me just a little bit. Let's welcome Professor T. Mashau from the University of Venda.
Thank you, Program Director. Good morning. Yeah, this topic is very interesting. Disengagement. So I based my presentation on the youth disengagement. Youth voter disengagement is a growing concern in South Africa. People between the age of 18 and 34 or 35 in South Africa make this youth section of the population. They consistently show lower registration turnout rates compared to older voters. And disengagement does not always mean apathy. It often reflects frustration with politics. Now, let's look at the overview of the youth voting trends in South Africa. This is the pattern. Youth voter turnout has declined in recent national and local elections. This is true. Many eligible youth remain unregistered. It's true. Young voters show higher political dissatisfaction than older groups. The older groups of ours show interest in voting, but the youth not at all. So there are concerns that the underrepresentation of youth affects democratic legitimacy. If you go to national parliament, provincial legislatures, let's look at the number of youth representation in all provincial legislatures in South Africa, and even at local government, local councils. Reasons for disengagement. Number one, political distrust and disillusionment. Many youth feel politicians do not represent their interests. Number two, government fails to deliver services. Corruption undermines democracy. This is what colleagues were talking about. You go to Madlanga Commission, you go to Zondo Commission, Ado Commission. All the commissions are talking about corruption. The South African context, ongoing corruption scandals and service delivery failures deepen distrust. And then voting becomes meaningless. Reason two, the socio-economic challenges. High unemployment rate, poverty and inequality, unstable conditions. This is survival priorities often outweigh political participation. Structural inequality, but not laziness. As some politicians would say, people are lazy. Number three, political apathy and cynicism. Cynicism is a negative attitude in which a person believes that people, leaders, or systems are mainly motivated by self-interest, the meism, me, dishonesty or corruption, and therefore cannot be trusted. Look at the number of the parties that have registered for these local government elections. About 500 political parties. How long will be the ballot? How will you identify your party? That is self-interest. And in most cases, the leaders of the political parties that have registered at this level, they want to become mayors, all of them. And it's not possible for anyone to become a mayor in 258 municipalities. Some youth believe voting will not change outcomes, and all parties are the same. This is what they think. Reasons for disengagement, and reason number four, weak political socialization. Many youth lacks civic education, as colleagues have already alluded to this. Understanding of how elections work and encouragement from family or schools. Number 5, barriers to participation. This include registration difficulties, sport challenges, lack of election information, which mostly affect rural and poor communities. Number 6, alternative political participation. South African youth often participate through protests. If you remember 2015-2016, fees must fall, social media activism, and community organization. The theory, which might maybe bring the youth to participate, to engage, the resources, the motivation and recruitment. This goes back to the political parties. Rational choice theory. Youth may abstain if voting seems ineffective. Political socialization theory. Early voting habits shape lifelong participation. If they don't participate now, they will never participate. From disengagement to participation, improve civic education. The manager was talking about civic education in his presentation, what the IEC wants to achieve in this dialogue. Stronger democracy education in schools, maybe life orientation curriculum, enhancement. Youth-centered policies, which are concentrated on employment, more on education and housing. Digital engagement strategies, use of social media to mobilize youth. Last year we were talking about e-voting. This can be enhanced. Electoral reforms, easier registration, and youth outreach programs. In conclusion, youth disengagement in South Africa reflects distrust, inequality, frustration, changing political culture. Reimagining participation means making democracy more responsive to youth. Youth do not reject democracy, they reject feeling excluded from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. A round of applause for Prof. A round of applause for all of our panelists, the presentations that they've made. Because we are all speaking of the same realities, it makes sense that there will be common threads in the issues that are presented, in the questions that are asked, and then we talk about the solutions that are being proffered. So you can prepare yourself to ask questions that you may want to ask. Now, this is what I wanted to share about asking questions. So the one time I was here, it was not here, we had a thought leadership seminar, and was probably at the hotel by the stadium there. So I had a question, and they were counting the number of people that are going to ask. So they said, I'm going to take 4. I had a question, and so 4 people went before me. And then I thought, no, they'll cover that question. I've had that question for a very long time since then. I actually still have it. And I thought to myself, I should have asked that question. So the question you have, ask it. When we ask for people to raise their hands and ask their questions, please raise your hands. I have the advantage of a platform where I can ask questions. So despite that, I still have that question, but I have an advantage of a platform where when Menkaro Matita comes, I can ask questions. I can throw it at her. Okay, so prepare yourselves for question. The panelists here, as I was saying, there are common threads in identifying what the challenges are. And perhaps the issue then we move from the common thread of what the challenges are, they are fairly established, to what the solutions may be in dealing with those. One thing that I had more of was the youth will ask, so what? What is the importance of voting? That question is underpinned by a few other sub-questions. They would ask that because they say, if we take it from Prof. Mashau, there's cynicism. There is, and even the other panelists spoke about it, there's corruption. They don't believe that voting will change anything for them. And how did we get to that situation? He spoke about a role that politicians can play. Prof spoke about a role that politicians can play. Mr. Mashia spoke about a role that politicians can play in structuring their manifestos. He spoke about the dangers of populism and whether it's a fair question to politicians, are the manifestos not always with a hint of populism that even you are aware it is not practically implementable? So I'll start here. Can I have a few mics, please, for the panelists? Oh, they are ready. Okay, so we start with the panelists before we go there. Just want to ask the panelists a question, an additional question. So we say the youth are asking, so what? What is the importance of voting? There's a basic answer, of course, of that the INC would give in the importance of voting, being a participant contributing to a healthy electoral system. But what would you say? I'll start with Mr. Mashia. What is the importance of voting? A youth that asks you, why should I vote? So what? Nothing changes. I'm unemployed. You even spoke about how do you engage that youth that doesn't work? How do you make them interested? Just briefly, please take 2 minutes for that question. What is the answer to that?
As a young person, I actually wanted to throw in a disclaimer that I will not take difficult questions. You are throwing me under the bus as a youth. But I think...
You are in very comfortable ground. I don't ask difficult questions.
Yeah. Anyway, that was on a lighter note. I think it has to be a balanced answer.
Yeah.
Because it's not a panacea. It's not a solution. But it's really, on the one hand, there are things that have worked in the past. I think I made mention of if you don't vote, you can't complain. Craft that in such a way that it appeals to the young person of today against this reality of so what. Now, so what can be turned upside down as well to say to all of us as a whole collaborative, multi-stakeholder network that seeks to resolve this problem, reimagine it together to mean whatever we do. If I've had strategic communication, so I come from a very strong strategic communication background as well. Whatever campaign, whatever messaging that you do, answer the so what question before you actually even implement it, so that it already answers the question for the recipient of that particular strategic communication messaging or campaign.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Prof. Selepe, I'll even take the so what. You touched on voter apathy, but you said youth are agile. And we had one leadership seminar. This was at the ranch, and somebody spoke about information. The information that is disseminated, what happens with that information. One of the issues that we're suggesting is sometimes the youth does not consume the information that assists with decision making to get them to participate or to be interested. That sometimes even when the information is available, the person it's intended, the people it's intended for are not available to consume it. So what? Why should we vote?
Thank you, Chairperson. My response to that would be that maybe responding direct to to the youth would be, number one, in life, if you do nothing, nothing happens. So it's a fruitless attitude to keep on complaining about government service delivery. The reason it is legislated that you vote is for you to bring about a change, because like I said in one of my slides, that if you don't vote, others will make the decision for you, and that decision will make you to be suffering forever. That means that if you don't participate, there will be a prolonged issues. But once you participate, you become part of the process. Like, I mean, it's so loud and clear that young people must participate, but the very same young people who are reluctant to participate, they are the ones who are asking the very same question in Tate Chaku to say, so what? The so what question will never stop up until they engage, up until they get out of their comfort zones and say, I want to bring about a complete makeover in my situation as a young person. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. And Prof. Mashau, so you spoke about cynicism. We all touched on issues about education, the barrier to registering, and issues around, you had a number of theories. We spoke about the bulge of the youth. The youth are in numbers. They are the largest grouping of the population. Are they really helpless in effecting transformation, and in fact effecting a change that they would want? Or are the youth not engaging, while actually, wasn't there once a slogan that says the power is in your hands? While actually, and he talked about bringing the old that can be made to work and respond to now. Prof. Mashau, in answering that question of the youth needing to engage, not being despondent and indignant about a helplessness that is perceived on their side. Yes, Prof.
Yeah, it's a very difficult question. Okay. You know, in one of the slides I talked about that youth are engaged, talking about fees must fall. But my problem is that where are the leaders today from 2015 up to now? Then, you know, when we were growing up, the liberation movements had student movements, youth movements, where they can engage the youth and nurture leadership from students to youth movements up until leadership of the political parties. But now, those liberation movements who have become political parties no longer have time to nurture, to politicize, because voting is part of politics, where political parties nurture, politicize. But now that the government is ruling, we no longer have those engagement with our youth. Oh, not me, man. The parties no longer have that engagement with youth because they're so busy. You talk about politics. Can we go back to where we were? There's a Mashau. We are talking about old politics. Today we are talking about stomach politics. And the stomach politics are disengaging because you are not there with the people. When you go to parliament, when you go to legislature, when you go to council, you forget where you come from. And the youth look at you driving big Range Rover, top of the range. And then there's, okay, which means politics is this. And not politics is not about material. Politics is about the survival of the people on the ground. How are political parties close to their constituencies. That is why there is mushrooming of these political parties. Where now IEC is complaining, how long will be this ballot paper? Where everybody wants to be a leader. Even youth who think, no, I'm not part of this political party. I may become an independent candidate. So it's the role of the political parties to go back and engage with youth so that they are engaged. They will know how to participate in politics, how to remove people who are not capable in their positions. But for now, everybody's by himself and oh, shame, our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. A round of applause to our panelists. At least you look engaged. So in this house, we have got engaged participants. Here's a question, and those that are in higher institutions of learning will assist us as well. Those that go into those spaces to do electoral education. Does the IEC need to go to the University of Venda or the University of Limpopo to do voter education? Or in the university, because there's a high premium placed on being in the SRC, the organization, the political organizations do it themselves. During elections in universities, do parties and political organizations invest a lot of resources or not? Do they send their big leaders to go and win the University of Limpopo, to go and win TUT, to go and win the University of Venda? Is there a reason for that? No, those are questions. Those are questions you can engage. Those are thought-provoking questions. But if those questions, the answers are yes, 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 then you can easily say, why don't they do the same, put the same premium and amount of investment in the local government elections? There are by-elections that you see there is a lot of effort. I do not know whether because they're in Polokwane, the IEC will tell us if a lot of effort is put in a by-election in Sishiru as it is in Tsianda. The IEC will tell us a lot of effort is put in a by-election in Bapalaborwa as it is in Lepalale, or there is a difference. If there is, the question would be why. But the politicians are here, or at least we wanted them to be here. But as part of the community, we are here to observe and look at these things. It is simple for me to hog the time around questions. I ask questions for a living. So let me allow you to ask questions. Okay, your questions. So I'm noting one hand. Am I going to win? One hand, two hands, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've noted the 10. I don't know if I'll have the time to do rounds. I'll get advised if I'm still within time. But if not, at least those that I've noted, I'll protect. Okay. Let's start there.
One. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lerato Maloka from Democracy Works Foundation, and I have 2 questions or think points. The first one, I want to highlight the fact that our panel does not reflect our demographics or who you want to speak to. We've got 4 male speakers, elderly. So if we are talking, if we want to co-opt youth, we need to, when we have these meetings, think about those things and that representation. And then number 2, my question is, and I think this is more like a philosophical question. Do you think that South Africa having so many political parties is impacting youth having a choice on which person to vote for? Because I see that, you know, our needs are not that different, but we have so many different political parties. Does that not impact or dilute voter turnout, especially with young people. So maybe for the IEC, or when you are working around civic education, you also think about that and consider that point. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. The next hand, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mapula from Unkuzi Development Association.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to the panelists for the thought-provoking presentations. I have two questions. I see on the solution and revitalizing the voting thing, we talk of technology, but what happens to a farm dweller or a farm worker in the farms who does not know anything about technology, who does not have the means of data or internet, or for that matter, a network? How I so wish Statistics South Africa would be part of this, so that we can also gauge when they do their census, do they have a specific category where they can tell us how many farm dwellers are within a certain province or in the country? Lastly, the IEC statistics, they get their statistics from Statistics SA, or they get their statistics from the voters' roll? A thought that I would love to leave with the House is that, how do I choose to go to a voting station and cast my vote when I depend merely on the message of Mr. Van Tonder, who at later would dictate to me, instruct me to vote for a certain political party? We navigate around that. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. There was a third hand there.
Morning to the House at large. My name is Kuman from University of Limpopo. So I have got two questions here. So, when it comes to the definition of employment, they say someone who is under the age of 18 cannot work because that will be child labor. Then even when it comes to IEC registering, they say those who are under the age of 18, they are not yet ready to take decisions. So why can't it be also on the retirement? Because you saw someone who is 65 is ready to retire, meaning that are beneficial for the organization. So why can't just IEC say only those who are from 18 to 65 are eligible to make a decision? Because Boma Gogo, they are also very simple to be convinced. ANC will do this for you, AFF will do this for you. They will just go. And then they are doing those decisions affect the future. So can't it be that IEC will have an age range from 18 to 65, only those are allowed to vote? And then another thing, on this thing of voter registration, at the universities, during SRC elections, everyone who is registered student of the university means that they are already registered to vote. So why can't it be someone who has an ID number already is on the database of IEC? They say anyone is just allowed to vote as long as you have an ID number or you are a resident of South Africa. Yeah, because this youth, they can't register, or some of them lack information about their voter registration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me get a fourth one before we... So I've gotten three. Yeah, let me get a fourth one. That was the fourth.
Thank you very much. My name is Selepe from University of Limpopo. So my question will be, can IEC actually change the formula of voting? We are now registering to vote digitally. Can it be that even when we vote, we go digital? Reason being is that looking at the youth, we are youth that is very attached to our mobile devices. And also, this also be referenced in the higher institutions. When we come to SRC elections, mostly the SRC elections are done online. And the voter turnout, it's very impressive. But when we come to local government or national elections, it drops. So my question is, can't we consider the so that we can encourage the youth to participate in the elections?
Thank you. Fifth one. Fifth recognized one.
Thank you so much, Program Director. My name is Refilio Maineja from the University of Limpopo. Actually, I had few questions from the appearing and disappearing of IEC and digital divide, the growing frustration among the youth. But in the interest of time, my question today will be on financial muscles of the IEC. It's just a follow-up question from the previous speaker. I just want to know if the IEC has sufficient financial capacity and resource to implement an electoral voting system, considering the cost of technology, cybersecurity, as well as voters' education. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's pause there. The other recognized are still recognized. Just simply stickers you have registered, so you're eligible to ask the questions. Okay, let's get answers. So I noticed that some of the questions will go to the IEC. The IEC will advise as to how to respond, whether it's now or, yeah, the IEC will advise us, but let me start with this one. Youth representation. So the comment she made, to me, if I'm structuring it, is there must be representation that speaks to the demographics of society, right? So if we want to engage youth in the different engagements, youth must be there and represented. I'm capturing that correctly. Okay. But then she goes to say there are so many parties. What is the impact of that, of having so many parties? I'll take it on evolution. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mashia. Oh.
but I think that I cut my career in this field through an organization that was called Multi-Party Democracy. And I wanted to say that that's the mainstay of our democracy, actually, unlike many other countries all over the world. So our genesis as a country, as a democratic country, is really based on that. But it's a very important point to note from the side of thinking, you know, do we really need this many political parties? But the environment is such that anyone can have a political organization and start one. But then again, from the point of view of individualism and politics of the stomach, you'd actually see this phenomenon that it's actually people from the one political party starting another. And you wonder whether there's really any value in that which they have formed, because it's not necessarily an alternative. It's one of the same. Lastly, in terms of representation, I'm representing young people, youth here, but I do take the point around other demographic issues, gender, etc. But that also would speak to the toolbox that we're going to develop, tailor-made messaging, so that you know, it can't be one singular language that we speak to a diverse demographic country such as South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. When Mr. Mashia made reference to the people of 1976 being 50 now, I thought it's because he relates. I thought he was speaking from personal experience. And Prof, you want to respond to that, or is that covered? You have
I just want to attest to what Mr. Mashia mentioned in response to what extent does this many political parties impact on our youth. So what I wanted to say is basically that there is a global trend whereby partisanship is declining. That is why we've got a lot of, what do we call it, floor crossing. People, they decide and they change, but that's not a South African challenge. From research findings, it is a global concern that people are no longer loyal to parties blindly. In the past, even if you could see that there are a lot of issues, you just
the allegiance is there, you just remain loyal. But now things are changing due to various reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, the one thing I like about academics is that when the point has been made, they don't usually stand and say, that point that has been made, I wanted to also make it in this way. They don't add a variation to a point. They concede it's been made. Let's move on. Okay, so I love that about engaging academics. You'll indicate to me if when the question is there, if you want to jump into it. Let me go that way instead of dictating who answers what. If you have an answer for a question, please indicate to me. I'll take you for that question. Profs, I know you're not used to raising hands. Please indulge me today. you want to address that, Prof?
I want to address the issue of digital voting at university.
Issue of digital voting at university, yes, please.
Yeah, with registration, combining registration and IEC, which maybe we look at legislation. I think that could be legislated if it's supposed to be like that. But I was, for the past few years, I was looking at the trend of voting at the University of Venda, where we have 15,000 students registered. But when they go for SRC elections, it's only 3,577 who vote. How about 12,000? So it's the same apathy, same disengagement. In terms of political parties that bring their big shots, they do bring big shots, but what are they bringing? Party before elections. Booze. Vote for us, we'll do more in terms of booze. Not in terms of political orientation, which we need. It's a matter of me standing as because, the disturbing thing is that the youth contest with student movement. Youth movement contesting against student movement, same party. So it's very difficult to find leadership. They divide votes. 3,500 people divide those votes into it's another problem that we have as society.
So effectively a microcosm of society, that's what you see in the university in terms of voter turnout as well. There was a question about eligible to vote in universities. Is that going to go to the IEC? Okay. And then there was a question about farm from Kuzi Development. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. You represent a very important, sometimes marginalized voice in society. So when we're talking about e-voting, what are we saying about farm workers? And I suppose it is a fair thing that even your deep rural areas will ask the same question about e-voting. So that the IEC will assist us with. IEC, you want to take it now, or how do we do it? But it's okay, so that we can move. If we can ask the IEC to respond to those. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the session. And the questions that have been forwarded to us. I was so sure that seated where I'm seated at and not there, we are so safe from the questions. That assumption is so wrong, it's not funny. I think a number of questions have been put to the IEC as follows. One from Mapula from Inkunzi Development Association about the issue of the farmers. I think that question is absolutely relevant. And in our day-to-day work, those are the sectors that we also worry about, because access to democratic right is not only confined to urban areas or peri-urban areas. Those people who are there also have, in terms of rights conferred to them by the Constitution, have rights to access those facilities. Now, in terms of the bid that we do in the Electoral Commission to enable that access, I will tell you that now, if you were to call the IEC call center, we will subsidize that in terms of a reverse billing system. And now arrangements are in place to ensure that if you want to access our website and you don't have the money, we're in the process of also arranging for reverse billing so that we can access that even if you don't have the data. So that bears in mind the fact that not everyone has access, given the digital divide realities that we have in this country. So we appreciate that concern in the question, and those are the bids that we are making. And many more. For example, as we're preparing now for the 2026 local government elections, you will have WhatsApp, wherein you can actually access whatever you want to access through that WhatsApp medium, and you don't have to pay for that because of the reverse billing arrangement. Other processes, for example, would be still using that WhatsApp facility when you're making whatever inquiries on election day. That WhatsApp will actually get connected to your GPS coordinates, and it can take you to a voting station that you're inquiring about, in case you're wondering where your voting station is. The other issue that was mentioned about the work that we do is the issue of the e-voting. I think two colleagues raised issues about e-voting. Now, I will tell you that as far back as 2013, the Electoral Commission convened an international conference in Cape Town. In that conference, we invited world election management bodies, world experts on e-voting. We also invited countries that have implemented e-voting to hear from them, what were their experiences and so on. We made a follow-up international conference, I think it was last year, still on e-voting. And let me give you a feedback, very short one. In both conferences on e-voting, unanimously, all political parties in the country rejected e-voting. Remember, from our side, the concerns were, let's make it easier for South Africans, including the youth. Now, the rejection unanimously, remember, political parties don't always agree. But in this case, the agreement was unanimous in rejecting, not rejecting, rejecting e-voting. Concerns were based on inherent mistrusts on the system. They say, well, you have other countries that have implemented e-voting, now have gone back. They are now throwing away e-voting because of the inherent mistrust on the technology. The argument is, if it's man-made, it can always be manipulated. And so remember what we do in consultation with the political parties. We consult with them, and where there is reasonable ground to believe that those fears are legitimate, we can't just push through with e-voting. As you know, political parties are our partners in this work. So that's about e-voting. The other issue, I think, was about the financial muscle. I'll leave that to my PEO to deal with financial muscle that was asked about. Yes, I think those are the issues that we needed to attend to. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Our funding is sourced from the coffers of Treasury. So as a result, you can then imagine whether we do have the masses to implement e-voting. So we are researching, we are investigating, and the costs are also a factor in terms of those investigations. The first step, as Sano is saying, political parties are rejecting. They are just throwing everything, the basket with the baby. So, but then, research is continuous, and the price is also a factor when you look at that. We need to safeguard the taxpayers' money and not just throw it around on systems that might eventually not be trusted by those who need to participate.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I had recognized 10 hands. I have taken 5. So I'm left effectively with 5 registered hands for questions. I'm assimilating.
Thanks very much. My name is Lelo Ernest. Young people. The young people that we are talking about, they are marginalized. 3 things. Marginalized young people, fine young people who are doing well in the mainstream economy, but they may need support. 2, we have got young people who are at risk. These are young people who might be disengaged from the society. That's number 2. Number 3 that I want to focus on is young people who are lost. These are the young people who are not accounted for in the society. They are unemployed, they are in the streets, they are homeless. These are the young people that we have to make voting to be more attractive. There's a policy document, IEC, that you have, it's a policy document on electronic voting. You have done a very good research. It's a very good policy document. But we don't need a good policy document because it is useless if it is not implemented. It's unfortunate, IEC, that the political parties are rejecting the electronic voting. Perhaps, actually, even young people don't trust the current traditional voting because it's mad with rigging and everything. We don't trust it. Now, in the policy document, I want to give solutions now. In the policy document, you have benchmarked internationally. You have written a lot on e-voting. Then when you come to South Africa, we have got communities that are still in the first industrial revolution. They don't have a proper digital infrastructure. They don't have electricity. Then how do we navigate around that? And we want to make voting to be electronic. 1, IEC, it's just my view. Why can't you pilot it when it comes to by-elections? Try to implement the e-voting and electronic machine voting, because that one reduces cost, is very effective. Even those who are disabled can vote from the comfort of their homes. Zero-rated website. Young people are poor, young people are not employed. I agree with you, IEC, that perhaps you can create a website that is free of charge. Young people can be able to enter there and vote. That will eliminate what you call digital divide. So these are the things that I wanted to talk about when it comes to e-voting. The policy document discussed last year, it's here. I read about it. It's very good. I think it must be implemented. That is my view. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't capture your name. Did you say?
Yeah, my name is Lelo Mohale Ernest from the University of Limpopo.
Okay, thank you. You look like someone who was presenting in last year's Thought Leadership Seminar. It is, ne? Oh, okay, all right. So that is, I'm fair in capturing that as a comment as opposed to a question. Okay, great.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Mahlodi Daniel Rapiri from the University of Limpopo. My questions are directed to the panelists, each for one. So, as a young person, my daily life experience are faced with issues such as service delivery failures, inequalities, which then influence participation. First question, how can electoral participation be linked to the broader democratic practices such as deliberation and accountability? Secondly, how can participatory governance and digital platforms or community-based initiatives foster engagement? Lastly, what are the results of disengagement for democratic legitimacy and governance? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Rose Pillay from University of Limpopo, Department of Public Administration. Most of my questions were covered, but my interest is on political education. because we are talking much about attracting youth and bringing a large pool in terms of registration and voting. But the people that we want to attract, are they politically educated? Are they oriented? Because you might find a situation, same as elderly, they just know ANC, they know Mandela, but they do not understand the gist of politics. Same as young people. You might find young people just having an interest in a certain political party, but not necessarily having a background of political education. Coming to my question, as far as we know that young people are online, social media to be precise, I heard that one of the panelists saying that perhaps we must utilize social media to mobilize young people. But as we use social media, how are we using the social media? What strategies, communication changes that are required in order to ensure that we attract young people? Social media is very broad. Young people are on TikTok, Facebook, and so forth. So how do we politically educate them through that social media, at the same time ensuring that we do attract them? The last one is on, I think cybersecurity is covered. And then the last one is on a continuous process in terms of not necessarily focusing on elections when it comes to election season. I think when Mr. Mashia Pata was wrapping up, mentioned this one to say that we must have a situation whereby we cultivate a culture of continuous participation between elections. As that it may be, what strategies perhaps we can come with in order to ensure that we keep people generally at the peak in terms of politics and not necessarily coming to seminars like this when elections are approaching or having debates when elections are approaching. What strategies, what initiatives perhaps we can come up with as far as political education is involved and elections are involved? Thanks.
Thank you, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Obrima Ake from UAT, Provincial Secretary. So I rather say I want to make a comment with regard to the presentation. First of all, I would like to thank the panelists for being broad in terms of the subject of the day. So my issue is, we are saying that youth are not participating, more especially the people from the age of 18 to the age of 34. The question that I always get on the ground is, after voting, then what? And that's the question that you also asked. Because we are not holding the politician accountable. I think this question has to also go to the IEC, because when these people are casting their vote, they are casting their vote with hope that something is going to happen. The people that are living in the rural areas are promised road, water, and everything. But as soon as they are we are voted in as politicians, we don't do anything about it, and no one is going to hold us accountable. And then now we want to attract the very same youth that are not working, that have degrees, they have all the skills that is necessary to ensure that they are well equipped, but at the same time, they are not well represented. So I'll give an example of the day that our provincial legislature organized something called the Youth Parliament. And I was privileged to be part of that group where I attended as a guest. I've seen ideas being brought by the youth of Limpopo as to how best can they transform the province. But that was a once-off thing, and their ideas are not going to be implemented. So in order for us to attract this youth, why can't we have the youth parliament that is going to engage on the matters that are affecting the youth? In that way, at least we will be able to attract the youth of the country so that they can participate in the election. And also in conclusion, I want to say that we can talk about voter education. And I need to guarantee the panelists here that our people are well informed about voting and they know the importance of voting. The problem that they are facing, either the youth and also the elderly, or more especially the professional, is what are politicians doing for us? I vote every year, but I don't see anything. So if I don't see anything, then what's the point of voting? I know that I need to vote for change, but you guys are the same. You are not going to give service delivery to the people. All you want to do is you want to be voted in power, Then after getting the power, you're going to buy all these big cars, land, and start moving around with them. And you're not going to do anything for us. So that is the problem that we are currently facing. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So I had 5, I've gotten 4. I must be left with 1.
Greeting to the August House. My name is Ali Maloba from Economic Freedom Fighters. I'll start with Prof. Selepe. Prof, why registration for voting is not automatic? Like immediately after applying for ID, automatically the applicant be eligible to vote to save cost. Secondly, the international standards are saying the youth is from someone or a citizen from the age of 15 upward. Why in South Africa we're considering a youth from 18? We are not moving with the international standard that a young person is from the age of 15. Lastly, is for Mr. Mashia and IEC. Considering the cost, why are we not considering merging both local and national government election to be in one day to cut all the cost and the movement? Thanks very much.
Thank you, appreciate that. My numbering says I had recognized 10 people. I took 5 in the beginning. I've taken 5 now. Is my numbering correct? Yes. Okay. Well, I'll accept that my 10 should have been 11. Your question, sir?
Thank you very much, Chair. Greetings to all leaders, all protocol observed. I'm Mankiri Hashu, representing the ACDP Youth Foundation. So I hope this statement doesn't raise up a debate, because I would like to challenge your statement, Prof. Mr. Mashia, right? And also, I had an emphasis on the point that if you don't vote, you cannot complain. So now, as someone who's representing the youth, I stand very much with the youth registering to vote and them voting again. So now I believe that in democracy, the right to criticize bad leadership should not depend on whether I voted or not. So rather, remember, the reason why the youth are not voting is not because they are careless or they are misinformed, but it's because of the frustration that has been caused by the current political position. Remember, so in South Africa and in our communities, we have thousands, not hundreds of high schools, and most matric learners, matriculants are 18 years. So now, if I graduated on matric with a bachelor's degree, but when I applied, the institution tells me that there's no space, that makes no sense to me. So that's one of the challenges that most youth are facing in our country. We have a lot of high schools, but we only have one higher institution of learning in each province or 2. That doesn't accommodate all the thousands of bachelor's degrees that have been accumulated on that specific year. One other thing, as someone who's in the higher institutional learning, I can assure you the Freedom Charter tells us that education is free, but I can assure you, even though there's NSFAS, it's not free. Regardless of whether I have NSFAS or not, the institution of higher learning still expect me to pay registration fee if NSFAS has not yet responded to my to my applications and everything. So those frustrations have caused the youth to rather shift from focusing on this political sector, but rather developing my own life. I'm just telling you how the youth are seeing things nowadays. They've shifted from focusing on the political thing because they've lost hope to say, we keep on voting, but nothing happens. But rather, I'll just focus on my business, I'll focus on my schoolwork, and I won't vote anymore because nothing happens when I vote. So the real question should be, why is this system failing to convince the youth that their vote will indeed bring them change? Not rather to say, if you don't vote, you can't complain or anything like that. Rather, we should find strategic ways to say, how do we help these ones who have been discouraged? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, even if my counting was mistaken, it's unable to stretch beyond that. So let's go to the questions. So the first one was a comment. Maybe we'll address the questions first, and then if we need to go to the comment, we can engage it. But fairly, it will be covered in all of these. It's notes that the IEC would have taken. There was a question about, or even before, are there questions that I'm having volunteers to take, or I should just go through the questions? There was a question about the electoral participation linked to accountability. Do I have, okay. So as you, Prof Selepe, I see you've made notes. Please start addressing the ones you've noted you'd address. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm responding to Comrade Maloba regarding the fact that why is the IEC not changing how they are doing things currently. From my own observation, I think, Comrade Maloba, this is a very important input. Going forward or mapping out the way forward, I therefore suggest that the political parties represented here in this session, maybe they start deliberating on your input. And as a collective, approach the IEC and propose that they should be going forward. I don't know about the age one, because currently they're saying 18 to 24. But I think because they've got a very high level of flexibility, they are open to change and to change management. And I don't think the IEC, they are rigid. They need your voice, like your contribution. I think it's very important. And going forward, if it's possible, the fact that the political parties were in one accord and rejected the e-government with reasons known to them, transparency and all that. Even now with your suggestion, I think it is implementable, whereby if they can form a sort of a cohesion and liaise with the IEC and say, we've got this suggestion, why don't we have an interface whereby the system, the Home Affairs system, synchronizes with the IEC automatically, those who have got IDs, of course South Africans, because we have seen a lot of people have been arrested due to the scams of issuing IDs to the foreign nationals. I'm talking about authenticity here, whereby then they forge this agreement, and then the interface is there. Come the time for the elections, there's no need for the queues, there's no need to say the voter turnout has declined. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Is that the only one you addressing for now, Prof?
Yes, because Comrade Maloba said it's
or if he directed it to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mashia.
Okay.
Mashia.
Yeah, that's also okay, Mashia. It's fine. Just in a minute, the point around that you are pointing around, if you don't vote, you can't complain. I think I was making reference to a campaign that was relevant at the time. Obviously, it was not in isolation of the context of the time. There was a clear, deliberate campaign that resulted with that as a thing. So I was saying we need to think about things that have worked in the past and see how we implement them now. However, not in isolation of a 360 type of approach. So I think that I just wanted to make that clear. And I agree, around civic education, I've said it and I'll say it again. It should not be a once-off thing. It cannot be a once-off thing. And with that, I agree. That's how we need to go. And we know it has worked in the past. We know that it would have to have evolved. I had innovation, and innovation does not mean one single track of an approach. It still has to be broad and very, very important. I think, you know, political parties that are here, if you delineate how things are done, they are the lawmakers, Prof. So whatever it is that you are thinking about and you're pondering right now, because of our resilient democracy, is doable in the country. So we need to make sure that we go back to those, and I want to just be blunt and say weapons that we have as political parties that we can actually make these laws. So finally, I think, as a parting shot, when you talk about democracy, so what's worse is, and I'm leaving this with everyone here, is choosing not to vote worse than choosing to say that I'm not going to vote. Okay, let me put it this way. So so there's data, 2024, data tells us that young people did not actually go and register. So if you have not registered, you will not vote, right? So that's one. Is that worse? Or you register and not go and vote? Whatever reasons that you give as a young person, remember that whatever it is that you want to resolve, there's two things. One, civic education means you have a responsibility over your country. I wish our civic education would also just build that pride of every citizen of this country that I am. Look at all the other countries that are happening with the madness. People still stand up and say, yes, we will vote for this person. Whether that person is mad or not, they do, and they will wear a badge of pride. And that is done through voting. And we are where we are precisely because we were voting. So to say I'm not going to vote, I think is the worst form of self-betrayal and self-disengagement. Go and vote, change the situation. If you move up, then you end up being a lawmaker. You make the laws that really change the picture. The message is, let's make sure that young people now, from the data that we got from 2024, practically go and register. 2024, they were 18, now they are 20. They must go register, but not only register, they must actually go and vote. I want to see something. That's what young people say. Give out something.
All right, thank you. Prof. Mashau?
Thank you very much. Yes, they must go and register and vote. Yeah, vote is very interesting. Eh? You look at your thumb, or say, showing someone that I have a mark. It's a very interesting season of voting. I'm talking about the consequences of not voting. Looking at the population of South Africa, are we 68 million? And if less than 10 million vote, then 58 million haven't voted. The consequences, the government remains. If they continue, because they are not moved out of power. And then, on political education, I think civic education, continuous one, it should not stop. Even political parties should play their role in terms of conscientizing, in terms of teaching their members about politics and the importance of voting. The manifestos, all political parties now are building up their manifestos on local government elections. So what are they doing with those manifestos when they get to power? That is very, very important. They have to make sure that the manifestos are being implemented, but in accordance with the laws of local government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. A round of applause for our panelists. Just before I go to the IEC with the rest of the questions, there was it was framed as a comment, but a question actually came out of that comment with the UAT, holding politicians accountable. How do you hold politicians accountable? I'll stay here for a moment with the with the Prof. How do you hold politicians accountable? Because I struggle with this concept of a voter being helpless. And someone will release me from my bondage of that struggle. But how do you then hold, Prof. Selepe, how do you hold a politician you voted for accountable? Because essentially we vote, we give you time to go and work. And then there are IDPs and other things that wants to engage you, get your input into the work. Of course, I say this and I'm noting with the what do we call them? The GNUs but I'm not looking for coalitions, I'm looking for coalitions. Because when you sit down in a coalition, a few of your principles fly out of the window because essentially you're looking to get in to form a government. At that point, your manifesto takes a back seat. I'm not saying it should, but anyways, let's not digress. Prof, how do you hold politicians accountable?
You see, those ones who are embedded within the government structures, they know the legislative framework pertaining to professionalism and ethical conduct. Just quickly, I'll just quote two pieces of legislation. You see, when you look at the Municipal Finance Management Act, I think it's section 32, it makes it loud and clear that should the member of the municipal council or the municipal official spend the money that will result into irregular expenditure, wasteful expenditure, and unauthorized expenditure, they must bring the money back. Again, the Public Finance Management Act, I think from section 80 to section 86, it even talks about the jail term, that they must be caught and they must be sentenced. So now, what I'm trying to say, I'm saying we have got very good legislative frameworks, but our politicians, they decide to carry themselves contrary to what it stated in our legislative framework, especially the financial management pieces of legislation. So therefore, what I'm saying, I see the SIU and the WOCs, they are doing a good job, but there are certain cases, they are covered. The culprits are not really prosecuted accordingly. So in a nutshell, I think we need strengthened consequence management for those who are really eating our monies, our tax money.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so thank you.
All right, thank you, thank you. If there is a contribution on that point before I move, is there? Or we are comfortable with the Prof's response?
Yeah, I think holding accountable the politicians at national and provincial level is very difficult because they go through the parties. So you may find that you don't even know the MPL in your constituency, or MP in your constituency. But with local government is better because you know the councillor. But fortunately or unfortunately, the councillor belongs to the party. So the party is the one which holds the politician accountable. Sometimes the constituency also holds the particular council accountable. At council level is better than at provincial national level. So,
okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Until we have legislation which says,
yes,
I'm going to represent this constituency, representing this party, that will then have that opportunity of accountability.
Yes. Okay. You covered. This is what I like about academics. No need for a variation of a point stated. I see.
It looks like it's working. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity again. We were reminded that as the IEC, there were about 2 questions that we missed from the first round. Maybe we should also address that as well. The first one was, where does the IEC get its statistics? I think it was asked by Sis Mapula over there. We rely on a number of sources for our information. Remember, as an institution, we also generate information as we do our work. So the registration figures, as an example, we do get that information from there. But over and above our own internal processes in terms of generating information, we also rely on outside sources. For example, you mentioned Stats SA. That's one of the sources where we get information as well. Also, we have organizations, research organizations that we partner with. For example, your Human Sciences Research Council, as well as the MAC Data. They constantly do research, and in our partnership with them, we lean on them in terms of the information that is generated from those research activities. If you look at, for example, the Human Sciences Research Council, in our partnership over the last, I'm sure, more than 10 years, they've been doing your longitudinal studies since 2003. And the information out of that is absolutely important, and we often rely on that. Also, the information generated by our universities. In Limpopo, we have institutions that we partner with who are here, so we also lean on them for the information that they generate from the body of research. The other issue, Chair, was about why don't we just, as the Electoral Commission, allow people to vote solely on ID numbers and not necessarily on ID documents? Remember, as an institution, much of what we do is highly regulated. So when the law says for anybody to access their vote, they must present themselves in person, and they must also prove that they're claiming to be, meaning that they have to give us their ID document, either your smart card or green barcoded ID or valid ID. We have to insist on that because that's what the law says. We can't do other. We can't dodge that one, in other ways. The other issue was about merging the 3 elections, your national and provincial elections, your local government elections, which will in total give us a total of 5 ballots if you are to do that. This particular issue was debated a number of years back, and there was a point we thought now it's going to happen. Political leadership or parliament now is going to make it happen, but it did not happen. All that would happen would be the legislators coming together and saying, now we are passing the legislation. We are merging all the elections. As I'm saying, there is no way the IEC can say no, because much of what you do is based on what the legislation says. So as long as the legislators are saying, now we are merging, here is the legislation, by all means the IEC will comply. And for the longest time, we've been waiting for that to happen. We still to see it happening. So I guess we'll wait to hear from you on this one. As somebody said, one famous politician said, don't call me, I'll call you. The last issue from our side is about the issue raised by, I think, the Secretary General of UAT. I'm glad this is raised by a political party. The issue of holding elected representatives accountable, the issue that the chair is also ventilating. This has been quite a point of fascination for me, Chair, if I may. You see, one of the central tenets of a healthy democracy is just that. And when it's raised by a political party, it gives hope. Because indeed, when the electorate do their part, they participate, they vote certain individuals into office, and after that, they neglect them. Things go wrong there. You're supposed to have, in a healthy democracy, a situation where after electing them, you hold them accountable. That way, you know that you're making some strides. And Chair, if I may also add, that much of the challenges we have in that regard is the architecture of our electoral system. In the country, as you know, we use the mixed electoral system, both the proportional representation system as well as the ward-based system. In a ward-based system, like you correctly point out, a ward councillor who is representing that particular community, it doesn't matter which political party I support. As long as this person is my ward councillor, I have the right to go to that person and say, well, my road is in tatters. Can you please do something about that? That is holding elected representative accountable. And so what that means to me is that you need to pay some attention, not sure how, some attention to examining your electoral system to see if it enables our environment to do just that. The second point related to that is the issue of what you would want to call social contract. Because a democracy, when you elect somebody into public office, in terms of social contract theory, you are saying, as an ordinary voter, citizen of this country, I am voting you into this position so that when you get there in parliament or provincial legislature or local council, you take key decisions in my best interest, not your best interest, in my best interest. And therefore, when you do that, you're actually transferring a whole lot of power to the public office bearer. And it remains your responsibility to ensure that that power you're transferring is used appropriately. But when you fail to do that, actually it's a part of democracy that is failing. So for me, I think it's something that we need to keep ventilating so that democracy is kept alive and is encouraging when that issue is raised by a political party. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. On the IEC end, is that covered on all the issues that were raised? We didn't leave anything out? Yeah, okay. Sorry.
I think just quickly on accountability. I think as Sene was outlining, our democratic system is indirect. So we elect people, we give them the power to go to parliament and decide what should happen. Even if they come here and hold, tomorrow we're having public hearing on the white paper for local government. But eventually, it's not us the people. Eventually, those who are elected into parliament will decide on how, local government should be restructured. So we have an indirect democracy. In Switzerland, they have direct. Citizens decide on the policy, on what should happen, and so on. So our vote is given to someone, and that person is supposed to represent me. We are currently trying to reform our electoral system. I think you might have participated in those public hearings on the reform on our electoral system. We are hopeful, particularly for national and provincial elections. I think as Senna was saying, for local government we are covered. We have councillors. A ward councillor is like a constituency. So, I mean, in my ward, for example, we have a WhatsApp group. We are citizens of a particular ward, and we have a WhatsApp group. If something is happening in our ward, there is water problem, we get to know. The councillor will then give us information on the dam levels, on when we should expect that water will be restored in our area. So a ward councillor needs to be active and accountable. However, the system for national and provincial really, although the Speaker of the legislature says there is a budget given for constituency work, I do not know who is my constituency representative in the legislature. I do not know where that office is, and I'm sure the majority of us do not know. But there is a budget. Are you a member of the legislature? So there is a budget allocated by the speaker for members to do constituency work. So I do not know, sitting here, where that constituency office is and who is actually representing us. So we are hopeful that things will actually change. And then the last question is on elections, whether we can't hold elections on the same day. I had an opportunity to attend. In Zimbabwe, they call them harmonized elections. From the local to the provincial to national, they used 5 ballots. Interestingly, on the day of elections, 2 or 3 of those ballots were missing. Voting could not start. So we need to wait for all the 5 so that voting could start. Now, in South Africa, you will remember in 2024, we introduced an independent candidate. Somebody could contest as an independent to sit in parliament or in the provincial legislature. Now, in 2024, we were given 3 ballots. Local government elections, for those of us who are in rural provinces, we also get 3 ballots. So it means on election day, if we harmonize and hold 1 election, it means we'll be given 6 ballots. 6 ballots for us to choose. And I don't know, we will need to do intensive voter education to explain to people how these things work and so on. And I think mistakes are going to happen, really. I think our voters are just going to be troubled and with all these 6 ballots, and somebody will make a mistake, choose, and then forget about the second or the third, and eventually there will be a lot of confusion. But those debates are on. Anyway, people were saying, let's save money and hold elections on the same day. So we're yet to see that happening. The decisions lies with the parliament. And then somebody then said, is it possible that we could, I think as voters, influence that particular process? Of course we can. I think as long as we participate, I do not know how many of us are aware that tomorrow there is going to be a public hearing on the white paper on local government. How many of us are aware? It's an open invitation, you know. I mean, so you can see that the majority of us who are supposed to be active are not even aware. So our system of communication is actually flawed. I think lastly on that issue of piloting e-voting, we are tempted as the IEC, by the way, to pilot e-voting, particularly in Gauteng. You see, in Johannesburg, it's very, very easy. They have networks, they have, nobody will complain about access to a network. Guess what? Our legislative system did not allow us because we did not amend the Electoral Act to allow for electronic voting. So our act, as Sena was saying, and regulations, you know, recognize that we need to have a ballot, you need to mark and so on. So we could not do that pilot project. So among others, we're trying to amend our legislation to also test and pilot the e-voting. So watch the space, it's coming. Thank you.
Thank you, a round of applause. Also a round of applause for that question and answer session. Our panelists and everybody that responded, let's appreciate them. Thank you. And you included in participating there. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Okay, let's, having engaged, having given our inputs as well, and so we're going to see what this gives birth to, but whatever it is, we're going to identify ourselves in it because we're part of the participatory process. Let's then welcome the IEC, there will be a presentation of tokens that will then be followed by a vote of thanks by Mr. M. Ramafalo, who is the Provincial Assistant Manager for Outreach. So we'll start with the presentation of tokens, and after the presentation of tokens, we will receive the vote of thanks by Mr. Ramafalo. A end of applause as we go to that item. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, okay. And there might have been online questions, but anyway, it's a bit late now.
Oh, yes. No, that's actually very important. So even as we do the tokens of presentation of tokens, just to say, where's the camera online? Which one do I look at, this or that? Those people, that one. For those that are online, thank you very much for being with us throughout and engaging. If there are questions that you have left online, we are going to ask the communication team to take those questions, note them, and then the next engagement will also address them. And the communication that will go out in the future will address such issues. And thank you for staying with us, but continue staying with us. We acknowledge your presence as well. Appreciate that. Tokens presentation.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much to the panel. I think you have given us something to ponder and think about, and we're taking this process forward. I think that is the purpose of thought leadership sessions, because we cannot just be comfortable as the IEC. We want to hear from thought leaders. So thank you very much. And this is just a token of our appreciation for creating time and being available to us. Thank you very much.
Do I get to declare this?
Yes, if you... Okay, maybe, thank you. They say we should take a photo. Thank you very much. Thank you, and we appreciate your contribution. Thank you. Where are the others? Thank you very much, Prof, for your contribution. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Investor Vendor. Thank you. Thank you, Lekamuso. Thank you. Thank you very much. And our program director. Hey, I didn't realize you are so good. You're well prepared. Thank you very much. We are proud of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Session Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. And also a profound thank you to our dynamic chairperson, Mr. Chauke, for steering this thought leadership seminar with such oomph and professional dedication. Your ability to navigate complex dialogues with such poise and energy is truly inspiring. Thank you for keeping us focused and motivated throughout the seminar. We are particularly grateful to our Provincial Electoral Officer for the official opening and for setting a compelling vision for our democratic future. Mr. Sianejo, not Ntate Sianejo. Thank you for rendering an insightful item on the purpose of the session and grounding our dialogue in the mission to reimagine elections. We are also grateful to our distinguished panelists, Professor Mashau, Professor Selepe, and Mr. Mashia. Your profound expertise and forward-thinking contributions provided the intellectual backbone of this seminar. Thank you for challenging us to think bigger and your commitment to deepening our South African democracy. Special appreciation to our guests, our PPLC members and their youth wings for showing up at our event. Also, special appreciation to the Chapter 9 institutions, representatives who are here, faith-based organizations, civil society, key stakeholders, and also media representatives. I'm also including those from other sectors. Students from University of Limpopo. And also, we were expecting the ones from Venda. I'm not sure whether they are here. We want to thank you for your vibrant engagement. You were so cool. Youth. We also want to thank Democracy Works Foundation team who traveled all the way from Gauteng to join us and share their perspective. Thank you very much. Finally, a massive thank you to the team behind the scenes whose hard work and coordination made this Make Election Fashionable event a reality. Special thank you to our colleagues, one from Mpumalanga, and also colleagues from the provincial office and district offices. We would like to thank you for your support. To attendees, we invite you to be ambassadors of this movement by sharing the key insights from this session within your own circles. We also call on everyone to champion the cause of democracy by promoting the online voter registration across all our digital platforms. Our online registration platform is on our website and other available platforms within the Commission. Our website is www.elections.org.za. As I'm about to finish, let's work together to ensure that every citizen is empowered to make their mark. We cordially invite all attendees to join us for a networking lunch and continue these vital conversations. Lunch will be served on my right-hand side. There is a restaurant. It's where lunch will be served. Thank you for all making this discussion a resounding success. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, thank you to all of you for having honored the invite, for having participated meaningfully. Thank you to the panelists for having opened our thoughts, engaged our thoughts, and having left us with something to ponder beyond this moment. And indeed, ladies and gentlemen, it is now with us that we strive to make the electoral participation relevant, relatable, and exciting again. Thank you for your time. From me, we are done here. Have a wonderful day. We are going to sign off by the national anthem. We have the national anthem. We do not. I think we'll ask Muruti again to close by a word of prayer. A round of applause for yourselves. A round of applause for what I believe was a very beautiful thought leadership seminar.
Re a o leboga Modimo go tsotlhe tseo re di diretseng tsona go fitlha mo. Re leboga gore tswela pele o re fe energy le dikgopolo tse di tlhwekileng go šila tse di boletsweng. Re gaogela ditseleng le dijo tse di beilweng di matlafatša mebele ya rena ka Jesu Kriste. Amen.